Goku going Super Saiyan on Namek, the father and son Kamehameha, Vegeta's final atonement against Majin Buu. These are all iconic moments that hold a special place in the hearts of many fans. But what does it truly mean to be iconic? Well, the simple answer is, the word iconic is used to describe an idea, an event, a moment, something or someone that has become so popular that they've cemented themselves in the minds of the public, leaving an impact that will usually last for many decades or even centuries. And so, throughout each of the 19 and currently ongoing story arcs, Dragon Ball has managed to deliver very impactful moments that have etched themselves into the memories of its fans and still continue to capture the hearts of new audiences. Let's go through the entire story from start to finish and pull the most iconic moment from each arc to compile the ultimate list of all of Dragon Ball's greatest moments. Starting off at the very beginning, we have the Emperor Pilaf Saga. As a standalone story, this saga is surprisingly good. It's funny, it has great adventure storytelling and full of memorable moments. But to cut straight to the chase, the most iconic moment here has to go to Goku and Bulma meeting for the very first time. This moment is the most iconic in retrospect because when readers read it for the first time, I don't think it held as much weight as it does now. But when people reread and look back at how far Goku and Bulma have come from such humble beginnings of a naive monkey boy who didn't even know what a girl was, to a series about fighting world-ending threats on a regular basis, it was easy to see why this moment in particular holds a very special place in the hearts of many fans. For the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, determining the most iconic moment of the arc is pretty easy because the climax of the arc is a fight, but it is not just any fight. It is a fight that Goku must lose so that he can learn a valuable lesson which has made him who he is today, a lesson that there'll always be someone stronger than him. Goku vs Jackie Chan marks the very first time Goku was presented with a steep wall that he has to climb, and in an attempt to do so, it brought with it so many twists and turns which all culminate into Goku turning into a great ape, leaving Master Roshi to be confronted with bringing a solution to the forefront. And what does this crazy hermit do? He blows up the freaking moon with a full power Kamehameha, creating the most iconic moment in this arc, which many power scalers still reference to this day, just to prove how strong Dragon Ball characters are. Moving on to the Red Ribbon Saga, the most iconic moment here is in the section covering the introduction of Mercenary Tao and the shift in tone this brought to the story. There are three major sections, or acts if you prefer to call it that make up the story: Goku's attack on Muscle Tower, General Blue's pursuit of the Dragon Balls, and the Commander Red section. What the first two acts have in common is that they retain the light-hearted and comedic nature that the story has had thus far, with only a few serious moments sprinkled in here and there. Goku was just tearing through his opponents with absolute ease as usual, and was thus far presented as an immovable object who will one way or another crush the strongest army in the world, the Red Ribbon Army. But no one expected Mercenary Tao to pull out of nowhere and just kill General Blue using just his tongue, who was the strongest opponent Goku had fought thus far, apart from Master Roshi. This moment was a shock to the system for every viewer or reader, and what followed next is even crazier. Mercenary Tao decides to casually throw a pillar towards Goku's direction with the intent to assassinate him, and in doing so, moments before disaster struck, he casually created an iconic moment for himself, riding a pillar like a true badass before eliminating Goku and finishing his job for the day. For the Fortune Teller Barber Saga, the most iconic moment is Goku reuniting with his grandfather Gohan. It is a truly heartwarming moment, elevated by all the build-up leading up to it. From the very beginning of the story, it was made very clear to us that Grandpa Gohan meant a lot to Goku. This is constantly shown with the 4-star Dragon Ball being presented to us as a symbol that serves to remind Goku of his now deceased grandfather. So, an arc that began with him tirelessly searching for the 4-star Dragon Ball, ending with him actually reunited with his grandfather, is truly touching, reminding us that although Goku is not one to dwell on the past, he is just a boy after all, and he missed his grandfather, who up until Bulma met him was all he had, and that he meant the world to him. Moving on to the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, it is a saga that began with such a huge anticipation for Goku's return. It had an explosive and exciting tournament with amazing character interactions as a result of Tien's introduction. So, the sudden and mysterious death of Krillin as the conclusion takes it for this arc, not only because it was very unexpected, it brought with it a very dark shift in tone, because most arcs usually conclude on a positive note. It marked the very first time an important side character died, making it a very jarring and disturbing end that etched itself into the minds of the fans immediately. And as much as Krillin's death was shocking, it was a natural build-up and lead-up to the Demon King Piccolo saga, which, in terms of determining the most iconic moment there is only one right answer that cannot be debated. There is this one image in particular that I saw and knew of even before I read the original Dragon Ball manga. The panel of Goku punching through Piccolo is the most iconic moment in the saga and quite possibly the entirety of the original Dragon Ball run. Aside from the stunning art and the rawness of Goku ripping through his opponent's chest with a single punch, what makes this panel hit harder is the build-up, anticipation and the desperation in the scene. Piccolo had killed Goku's friend and Shenron is gone too. The stakes are high and Goku cannot afford to lose. Everything depends on this one final attack and doesn't disappoint in the slightest. It's a moment that perfectly displays Goku's unwavering determination and tenacity in the face of insurmountable odds. Whenever someone mentions this saga, what comes to mind is the fight that Goku had with Piccolo, and that's because of how great it is. Therefore, the most iconic moment must come from the fight itself. With extreme difficulty, I believe the most iconic moment of this saga must be the conclusion of the fight itself, where Goku dives in with his head as a last-ditch attempt to deliver a final and crucial blow to Piccolo. This moment tops it all for two reasons. One, it is yet another moment showcasing Goku's powerful battle spirit and unwavering determination in the face of seemingly impossible odds. After all, at this point, Piccolo had pierced a hole in Goku's chest with an energy blast, destroyed all of Goku's limbs just like his father did, rendering them useless, all in preparation to blast him with a single key attack while he lies on the ground helpless. However, it turns out that Goku learned how to fly in that instant, survived the blast, and launched himself towards Piccolo from the sky head first, knocking him out of the ring, which leads to the next reason, which is this victory marks the very first time Goku has won a martial arts tournament after entering two previous ones, declaring him as a winner and the strongest man in the world, a truly memorable moment. Now when we step into the Saiyan Saga, we enter into an arc of legendary status in Dragon Ball, one full of back-to-back iconic moments. From Gohan headbutting Reddit, Goku dying from the special beam cannon alongside his brother, Piccolo's self-sacrifice for Gohan, the It's Over 9,000 moment, which has become a very iconic and popular meme on the internet, Yajirobe coming in clutch by cutting off Vegeta's tail, and even Goku and Vegeta stared down before their confrontation. These are all iconic moments in their own right, but one moment that stands above all of these brilliant moments is Goku and Vegeta's beam struggle. This is still one of the best beam struggles because it is a moment full of tension. The stakes are as high as you can get, as the earth and everything in it is at risk. If Goku loses this one, it's all over. He alone is the only thing standing between Earth and Vegeta's attack, and in a moment that shows who Goku really is, he exceeds his limits by going Kaioken times 4, giving it his all to save the day. In the Namek Saga, I think it's pretty obvious that Goku going Super Saiyan for the very first time is the most iconic moment, and it all boils down to these three things: build up and lore, presentation and execution. The build-up for this form was insane. Vegeta, Elder Guru, Captain Ginyu, and even Frieza all spoke of this form on separate occasions across the Namek Saga, and through those interactions, we learned that Super Saiyan is something to be feared. And when it finally debuted, its execution of Goku transforming in this dramatic character moment elevated the scene to great heights, making it resonate with the audience. When we get the presentation, we have a simple yet effective design which made the form stick as a very iconic one. But what also added to the presentation is the form being presented as this overwhelming force that Frieza could not stop no matter how hard he tried. Then after the Namek Saga, we then step into the Cell Saga, and just like in the previous saga, a transformation is also the most iconic moment of the arc, which in this case is Gohan going Super Saiyan 2. And just like the previous form, this moment is one of writing brilliance. While I will admit that the father and son Kamehameha is a very close contender and a legendary moment in its own right, this video is about the most iconic moments, meaning the one that is most remembered by the most amount of people. And whenever you think of the Cell Saga, please be honest, Super Saiyan 2 is the first thing that crosses your mind because it's just that impactful. To this day, this is Gohan's peak as a character, and nothing that follows after this for the young Saiyan manages to even come close to this moment. After the Saiyan Saga, we get into the Buu Saga, and oh man, is this saga full of iconic moments that make it very hard to pick from. But I think Goku's final spirit bomb against Majin Buu has to be the most memorable moment of this arc, with Vegeta's final atonement following in as a close second. Although Vegeta's self-sacrifice is one of the most touching character moments, marking how far Vegeta had come as a character, it doesn't quite match the level of desperation present prior to Kid Buu's defeat, which had everyone at the edge of their seats. At this point, Goku's Super Saiyan 3 had failed him. Vegeta was beaten to an inch of his life, and Fat Buu was also not spared from Kid Buu's wrath. This pink alien truly really felt unstoppable, like a final protagonist should, and defeating him with an attack that represented the culmination of everyone's power was an excellent and truly iconic way to send off the series. Moving on to the arc that literally revived Dragon Ball, the Battle of God Saga. We start with an arc that has two standout moments in my opinion: Goku going Super Saiyan God after the God ritual, and the My Bulma moment from Vegeta. Although I can admit that the My Bulma moment delivered the emotional height of the arc and was the overall better moment in general, which showed just how much Vegeta cared for his wife. Goku going Super Saiyan God for the first time was not only built up to decently in that short span of the arc itself, with Beerus' premonition and the mystery of the first Super Saiyan God as explained by Shenron, its unique execution of a form being unlocked through a ritual that required the involvement of 5 righteous Saiyans made this scene special because it shows that Goku couldn't have done it had it not been for the others. Therefore, while not being the best, this scene stands out the most because it pays off what has built up so far through the use of a simple yet effective design of the form, which has Goku's base form hair turning red instead of getting freakier and more complicated like Super Saiyan 3. Moving on to the Resurrection F Saga, very few moments truly stand out as memorable, but for the sake of the video, I'll go with Frieza cunningly destroying the Earth before Vegeta had the chance to kill him. This moment is one which left a sour taste in the mouths of many Vegeta fans, myself included, as we witnessed our favorite character have his moment to shine be snatched away from him. Against any other villain, this wouldn't have been such an issue, but because Vegeta has such a deep and rich history with Frieza, many fans rightfully criticize this moment to this day as being unfair to Vegeta unnecessarily, making it a rather infamous moment. For the Tournament of Universe 6 vs 7 arc, there are few things that truly stand out other than Vegeta's interactions with Kaba or Frost's shenanigans, leaving Goku's Kaioken times 10 against Hit as the peak of the arc. This moment is an example of a stereotypical hype Dragon Ball moment like Super Saiyan 3, which marks the point in the arc where one of our heroes, that being Goku in this case, going beyond their limits once again, usually through obtaining a new transformation to face their adversity. One thing that made this moment an instant fan favorite is the creative decision of bringing back the Kaioken technique, because it invoked nostalgia as fans got to see their favorite old technique find its way back and become useful again, even if it was only for a few episodes. For a saga that is now mostly remembered for its unsatisfying or underwhelming conclusion, the Goku Black Saga carried with it a very strong villain introduction that definitely still stands as one of the best in the series to date. We begin the episode with future Trunks running away from a mysterious figure who seems to be in hot pursuit of the young Saiyan. Seeing Trunks in such a panicked state adds so much suspense to the point that we finally breathe a sigh of relief when he reunites with Bulma in what seems to be a safe and secluded area. But little did we know, this mysterious figure is now able to track down Trunks and unfortunately kills his mother, leaving him and Mai as the only hope for the future. But not too late following Bulma's death, Mai also bites the dust, leaving Trunks alone and in pain. Just who is this man who won't stop hunting and hurting Trunks? The audience was probably asking themselves that at this point, and lo and behold, the villain is Goku? This was a huge WTF moment that drove fans crazy and sent them into theory crafting mode, where most of them came up with different theories to try and explain who is this evil Goku lookalike, making this the most iconic moment of the Goku Black Saga. Now, for the most iconic moment of the Tournament of Power, it is without a doubt Goku going Ultra Instinct for the very first time against Jiren. From its conception of having this event be a 2-episode special featuring episode 109 and 110 already made the occasion special. People were anticipating it so much to the point that even before the episodes were broadcast, streaming sites like Crunchyroll were already down due to user traffic, and when it finally aired, oh boy did it deliver. Dragon Ball definitely reached a new high peak back then. Speaking of hype stuff, the Broly movie was just that. This is by far the best written and animated movie that Dragon Ball has seen to date because it encompasses close to everything that makes Dragon Ball, which is the comedy, solid storytelling, and the fights that we love so much. And where this movie reaches its peak is in the fight where Broly goes up against Gogeta, where he showcased his insane durability. And because Broly was such a brick wall, Gogeta was pushed to the point of using his Kamehameha to try and finish him off, thus creating a legendary scene, which I consider as the most iconic moment of the movie. Now, when we move on to the Moro Arc, things start to change a bit because this was the first time that the Dragon Ball Super manga was ahead of its anime. So this meant that as opposed to waiting 1 week for new content in the form of weekly anime episodes, the fan had to start adjusting to waiting an entire month for new content in the form of manga chapters in an arc that spanned for just over 2 years. This is important to understand because the most iconic moment of the Moro Arc is tied to this fact, and that moment is Goku going Mastered Ultra Instincts against Moro. Ultra Instinct was hinted at multiple times throughout the Moro Arc as a power that Goku wanted to reach through the help of mirrors. It was presented to us as readers being one of the trump cards or key ways available to defeating Moro. So now when Goku finally pulled out this trump card, that being MUI against Moro, it was chapter 64 of the Dragon Ball Super manga, which came out on the 20th of September 2020. This was more than 2 years later after Goku mastered Ultra Instinct and used it against Jiren in the anime, a fight which aired in the anime on March 4th, 2018. So when you combine the fact that fans had not seen their favorite new form for a very long time and that it was constantly being hinted at, we begin to see that the anticipation for its return was at an all-time high, creating the perfect recipe for an iconic moment. The Granolah Arc was a mediocre Dragon Ball arc in my opinion, due to its underwhelming villains and Granolah's unsatisfying character writing. The arc also had a couple of hype moments like Ultra Ego Vegeta sprinkled in here and there that made it a little bit better. However, its conclusion was on a whole nother level with the dramatic arrival of Frieza. Upon his arrival, Frieza immediately made his presence known by one-shotting the current arc's main threat, Gas, who had up to that point given Goku and Vegeta a run for their money. And it was at this very moment everyone knew that our boys Goku and Vegeta are about to get cooked. To make things worse, Frieza also drops a bombshell that he had been training for 10 years in a time chamber and proceeds to turn on his new black form, which he then uses to one-shot the two strongest Saiyans at that point in their most powerful states, establishing himself as the most powerful being in Universe 7 once more, outside of the gods like Whis and Beerus, of course. So moving on to the superhero arc, I won't waste anyone's time because this movie or arc offers very little in terms of truly memorable moments, to the point that anything outside of Beast Gohan or Orange Piccolo is not worth mentioning as part of this conversation. So I would say Beast Gohan killing Cell Max with the help of Piccolo is the most iconic moment here, no doubt about it, because it just stands out as a moment that is a visual spectacle and a great conclusion that wraps up the events of the movie quite neatly.